standing before you today a blessed man, a fortunate man. Today, May 14th, is the 50th anniversary of the burning of that bus in Anderson, Alabama. If you don't mind, I'm going to have a little conversation with my mother. Mother, I know you've told me many, many times how much you prayed for me. Every time she ends a phone call, she would say, I am praying for you. But I know you've been praying for me for a long time. And folks, on that day, when that bus was set afire, and as we tried to get off of that bus, the mob outside held the door. And they said, we're going to burn these niggas alive. They held the door. I was 19 years old, Mother. And at that moment, I thought that that was going to be the last day of my life. And as the bus was burning and the mob was outside with their sticks and their clubs, yelling and screaming, I knew that day I was going to die. And it was just a matter of me trying to figure out how I was going to die. If I got off of that bus, I was going to be beaten to death, stomped, kicked. That's a horrible way to die. If I stayed on that bus, the flames would consume me and the rest of it. That's a horrible way to die. So as the bus filled up with smoke, I naively thought that if I breathed in that smoke, it would simply suffocate me, put me to sleep, and that's the way I was going to die. So I'm here to tell you folks, at age 19, I decided to commit suicide. But Mother, you prayed for me.
All right, come on now.
Because at that moment, the fuel tank in the back of the bus exploded. And when it exploded, all of that mob outside scattered, and that's the way we got off of that bus. God heard your prayer. Heard your prayer. But before that, Winsboro, South Carolina, the first time I was arrested, put me in jail, and that night, two police officers came out, took me out of the cell. All during the time I'm there, they said nothing to me. I'm asking, what are you charging me with? Why am I being arrested? Said nothing to me. Late that night, they came to get me and said, you said you want to go home? So come on, we're going. Put me in the police car, and right away I'm starting to think something's wrong here. And I asked again, where are you taking me? He said, well, you said you want to go home, so we're going to take you to the bus station. Okay, I thought that was all right. Then as we turned the corner, I saw this great mob at the bus station. The lights in the bus station were out. I said, and the police stopped the car. I said, okay, you can go. I said, wait a minute, you can't let me out here. Police officer put his hand on his gun and he said, get out of this car. And when I got out, the police took off. And I'm trying to figure out which way I'm going to run. I was in pretty good shape. So I figured I could outrun the mob, but where am I going to run? So I started running. And it looked like in just a few seconds, a car drove up and he said, young man, get in this car and get down on the floor. And that's how I escaped from Rochester. He heard your prayer, Mother. He heard your prayer. I am a blessed man. Blessed to be here. And if that wasn't enough, 2 years after I get out of Parchman Penitentiary, I get a draft notice. That's right. I get a notice from the draft board. My government said, now I know in St. Augustine, Florida, they won't let you go in the front door of a restaurant. I know in St. Augustine, Florida, they won't let you go in the front door of the Matanzas Theater, and you can't check a book out of a library, and some people can't vote. But we got these Vietnamese who are being denied their rights by the communists, and we need you to go and fight for them. I am a Buffalo soldier, and a Buffalo soldier is any black man who has served this country, worn the uniform, bore arms, left blood on the battlefield, but would come back home and be treated worse than German POWs. I'm a Buffalo soldier.
All right, come on.
But like my grandfather before me, who served in General Pershing's army, who served in Europe to help free the Europeans from the Kaiser's tyranny. And like my father, who served in the 2nd Marine Division in World War II, we always said, any black man said, this time, maybe when I go off to fight, maybe when I lose and leave blood on the battlefield, maybe this time when I come back, I might get some respect. So I went, like so many of my forefathers and my brothers before me. And America, even though we have turned a leaf, we have turned the corner, but this was part of your shame. You asked black men to fight the Nazis, to free Europeans from that terror. You asked them to fight the Japanese, to free the rest of the Asians. But when we got back here, we got no respect. But I went. I did what so many of them had done. And so I say to you, 50 years later, stony the road we trod. Bitter was that chastening rod, and it was felt in the days when hope, yet unborn, had died. But with a steady beat, night marches. Did not our weary feet take us to 1600 Pennsylvania Avenue, where Barack and Michelle Obama. Didn't come here to preach, but sometimes the Spirit. 50 years ago, May 1961, 13 people left Washington, D.C. and boarded 2 buses, Trailways and Greyhound. We were headed for New Orleans. We were challenging the Jim Crow laws in the South. And of those 13 people, 6 were black, 7 were white. Of those 7 whites, 4 of them were Jews. And I'd like to say at this particular time, as I say so often, lest I forget thee, O Jerusalem. At the end of World War II, the headline stated, the Allies defeat Nazi Germany. It didn't say the U.S., it didn't say Russia, it didn't say England, it said the Allies defeat Russia, because it took the combined effort of the people of goodwill to defeat their evil. And our movement for human rights, we had allies, white people of goodwill, like those of you here. We had allies. And of those allies, I always pay special attention to the American Jews. The first time I ever walked a picket line outside of Washington, D.C. in Glen Echo, Maryland, there were Jews on that picket line. 2 people on that picket line were survivors of Auschwitz, lest we forget. 1964, when the 3 civil rights workers were murdered, 2 of them were Jews, lest we forget.